Um, my husband Paul and I, we started about 4.5 years ago. Oasis is a franchise, and we bought Fairfield County, as I said, 4.5 years ago, expanded into Westchester County almost 2 years ago. So we service almost 2 million people, a lot of people, a lot of work, and dealing with senior care. So what I'm going to do is share my screen, and let's get this going. Okay, here we go. So the sandwich generation, that's what we are, right? So what is the sandwich generation? We're the adult children who are sandwiched between caring for their aging parents and their own kids. It's a balancing act, and we're really struggling on what to do and what's most important. So there are burdens associated with, caring for your parent. There's financial burdens because they need a lot of care. They need a lot of time. So you might have reduced work hours, increased expenses. Most caregivers are women. Plenty of them are men, but most of them are women. The other issue that you have is, especially now during COVID, kids are coming home and living at home and staying at home. They're not moving into the city or whatever. And so they have loans, and there's financial burdens associated with that. Now we live in the COVID world. Everyone's working from home. Kids are doing their schooling from home. College kids are doing it from home. So, and then you still have your parents, right? Are they isolated at home? And you have to keep an eye out for them and care for them. Now, if you are caring for them, there's an emotional burden, right? You really have to work on that work-life balance, right? So when do you stop working? When do you care for your parents? When do you help your kids out? All right. There's a lot of things that you got to worry about. There is caregiver burnout. You really have to take care of yourself. So, doing that meditation and walks and things like that, because it really does, taking care of your parents and just running the household is a lot. You can also have a lot of what chronic stress can set in. And with stress, all kinds of medical issues can happen. Okay. So how do we lighten these burdens so that if you're caring for your parents, what resources are available? Some of the factors that are included that you need to consider are the care needs of your parent, right? The costs, and what does the older adult want? Not what you want, okay? It's not you as the adult child. It's what do they want? You have to listen to them, all right? So, and where can this care be delivered? And that's what we're really going to talk about. It can be in the home environment, but there's also out of the home environments. And we're really going to do a deep dive into what all these things mean, okay? So what are the options at home? Well, let's first talk about what type of care they need. And when we look at that, we want to know what activities of daily living, or ADLs, that they need help with. So what's an ADL? Right, there's 7 ADLs. I'm going to kind of whip through this, and please ask any questions. So dressing, does someone need help dressing? And so this is the ability to dress and undress. Can they tie their shoes? Can they button buttons? Has arthritis kicked in, right? Like, do they need help with that? Is it cueing? Do they have some cognitive impairment so that if they've soiled themselves, maybe they don't realize it, maybe they wear the same shirt every day, and you've got to say, you know what, it's time to change, right? Or to hide those clothes. So dressing is an ADL. Bathing and grooming. So are they able to take a bath or shower on their own and brush their teeth, brush their hair, or do they need someone to help them? And what kind of help is that? Is it just someone to stand by because maybe they're unsteady on their feet? Or do they need help actually washing them and rinsing them off and drying? That's a different level of care, okay? Transferring, that's another one. That's the ability to get up out of a chair or out of a bed, in and out of a bed. Do they need help with that? And how much do they weigh? Are they obese? Are they frail? Because that can determine, is it one person? Is it 2 people? Do they need a mechanical lift? So transferring is a big one. Toileting. So, and continence, right? So that's the ability to take care of themselves to the bathroom. Can they get to the bathroom? Can they wipe themselves? Can they clean themselves properly? One of the biggest problems with seniors is developing UTIs, urinary tract infections, and that makes people, believe it or not, they can get really whacked out. And part of the things that you want to make sure is that they clean themselves properly, right? And continence really is the ability to control your bowels and your bladder. As people get older, they have to wear adult diapers. You know, do they know that they need to change it? Do they need that cueing? Eating, we're not talking about meal prep. It's about, can they feed themselves? Do they need help cutting their food because either they're frail or they don't know how to, or they have that arthritis again, right? So do they need help feeding themselves, or can they do it on their own? Also, cueing to eat. A lot of people, you know, if they're especially seniors who are living at home, they might not be eating well. They don't like to drink water, but you got to drink water. You know, you want to make sure they don't get dehydrated. And the last one is mobility. Are they able to sit, stand, and walk? We also talk about stand and pivot. Can they do that? Do they need walkers? Do they need wheelchairs? Do they just need someone there because they're unsteady on their feet? Right? Are they ambulatory? Are they fall risks? So these ADLs, that really affects the amount of care. So once again, it's dressing, bathing, transferring, toileting and continence, eating and mobility. Those are what's really going to determine how much care they need. So who can do it, right? Family can do it. I'm dealing with this right now in my own family. My parents live on Long Island, and both of my parents have different issues. My sister's the nurse. She you know, helicopters in a lot to help. My brother lives nearby. I go in once a week and spend time with them, you know, and that's what we're doing right now. Can be a lot of stress that can occur as a result of families getting involved. But once again, you need to have that work-life balance if you're going to help your parents. Do you feel comfortable showering your mother or your father or helping them in the bathroom? At what point does it become too much and that you can't do it anymore? And that's what you need to think about, because there are other ways to bring care in. So home care, you can get someone to come in and help you, a private person to come in and help you. Now, how do you do that? There's different ways. There's agencies and there's registries or private hire. When you have a registry, you're the boss. You are hiring that person. As a result, you really need to make sure that you do a background check, get liability insurance, because God forbid they fall in your house and they, you know, go after you. You've got to worry about things like that. You've got to do tax withholding, all that kind of stuff, because you're the employer, all right? So with a registry or a private hire, it will be cheaper. You could get someone for probably about $12 to $20 an hour with that. But once again, you've got to worry about all these things. What if they don't show up? Then you've got to find someone, a replacement. And that happens a lot, especially during COVID. You know, you've got people who are caregivers who are staying at home. They've got to deal with their own families, right? And who knows what they're bringing into the house. You've got COVID risks, COVID exposure. On an agency, on the other hand, that's a company that you'll hire the company and they will provide an aid for you. So if someone doesn't show up, they can get a replacement in. They'll do the background checks and the drug testing, and usually they'll provide the PPE, which is the masks and the gowns if needed, right? It's going to cost more. Right? You'll probably get, and the numbers are kind of all over the place, but generally $26 to $35 an hour would be the hourly rate. And they are hourly, all right? It is hourly. They have minimums too. A lot of them have 4 6-hour minimums, so you can get someone in, but they don't want a 1-hour gig, right? Because that they're not making that much money. So if you can give them a nice 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, they would love that. That's costly, and it is private pay. And what do? They provide companionships, help with ADLs, meal prep, housekeeping, transportation, These are provided by certified nursing assistants. Oh, I forgot to say, so they are charged by an hour, but you can have a live-in. And a live-in is going to be much cheaper. That could be $275 to $350 a day. You do need to allow them to sleep at night. And I think it's 6 or 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. So if your parent gets up a lot at night, live-in's not great, okay? But if they sleep during the night, that's great. It's much more cost efficient depending on the care needs. The other option here is home health. Home health refers to like clinicians that come in. So if you have, let's say your parents went to the hospital and then went to rehab, when they get discharged, they'll have a certain amount of physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech, and maybe a visiting nurse that comes in. That's home health. And that's covered by Medicare. That's covered by insurance, but it's a prescription. So it's a limited amount of time. They'll come in for a couple of weeks. The nurse will check your meds. An aide might come in once a week to help with a shower. And then PT and OT will come in a couple of days a week, maybe a half an hour at a time. But what happens after that? So if you need care on top of that, if you can't be there for your parent, you're either going to have to hire home care, or you're going to have to come in and help them, especially if they're fall risk or if they're frailer. So at home, these are the options. What if home isn't the right solution? Okay, why would you move from your home? Well, maybe cost. Maybe the house is not set up properly to deliver care. Are the bedrooms on the second floor? Where's the bathroom? How are they going to, get around the house, right? So making a change might be a good solution. Isolation, if they're in their house, especially now during COVID, how are they going to get out? How are they going to get to the doctor, right? How are they going to get engaged? Because engagement is super important. You don't want them to get depressed. So there's a lot of different options out there right now. So independent living, someone who's basically self-sufficient, very independent, and want their own living space, but they want some engagement. Right? They want some activities. They want their full kitchen, but they can also go to the dining room and have a meal, right? And engage and have socialization. They could get an apartment, could be a cottage. What's an example of independent living? As I said, it could be an apartment. It could be, I don't know if of the Osborne in Westchester County. That's independent living. It's also a CCRC. So let's talk about a CCRC. So with independent living, it could be a month-to-month rental. It could be a buy-in, right? With CCRCs, that's a continuing care retirement community. An example is Edge Hill, Meadow Ridge, 3030 Park in Bridgeport. They are buy-ins, right? So what is a buy-in? You're buying your independent apartment, and what you have access to is a continuum of care. You have an assisted living on the premises, a secured memory care environment, and skilled nursing. So as your needs increase, you can progress across the continuum. You buy that apartment. So let's say a one-bedroom apartment in this neck of the woods could be $500,000 to $1 million. Down in Florida, it could be $150,000. It really depends, its geography. What do you get from that? So that when you sell or pass, depending on the life care contract that you buy, 100, 80%, 50% can go back to the estate. So that's nice. It's good for, for if you want to leave money to the kids, whatever. But it's a huge upfront cost. And what tends to happen with CCRCs is people buy their beautiful apartments, and then when they progress, they don't, or when their care needs increase, they don't necessarily progress across the continuum. They tend to stay in their apartment and get home care, which is fine, but that becomes, let's go back to home care, that hourly rate, right? Paying whatever it is, $20, $25 an hour. Plenty of people do live-ins. It depends on where you are financially and what you want to do. Okay. But so you also have a monthly fee on top of it. So you buy your apartment for $1 million, you might have to pay $7,000 a month. It is what it is. Now, some other options that we have here, and this is has been growing a lot, assisted livings, and that's, you know, that's our sweet spot. Assisted livings, there's about, oh gosh, 30 of them in Fairfield County and about the same amount in Westchester County, and more are opening every month, mainly because of the baby boomers, right? You know, the baby boomers are going to hit 75 soon, and they talk about the silver tsunami, right? People are getting older, they're going to need more care. Where are they going to go? Assisted livings, they're month-to-month rentals. And so it's really, really flexible. You don't have that upfront costs, which is great. And you're renting your own apartment. There's different sizes. There's studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. And you can furnish them and decorate the way you want. So it's your home. They put up pictures, drapes, the whole thing. I mean, you should see some of these places. They're beautiful. So what you get here is assistance with these ADLs. So care is delivered to your apartment or throughout the community. So should you need this help, a care plan is developed. Nursing is on staff during the day. Some have 24/7 nursing. There's always someone awake at night. So if something happens, someone falls in the middle of the night, you don't have to call 911 right away, and they have to go and, you know, send them to the ER, and then they get all, you know, it's just a very stressful environment. At least you have a clinician there that can evaluate if mom or dad need to go, and they can live together. So if you have both parents there and they have different care needs, they can accommodate both. Now, not all assisted living ALFs or assisted living facilities, not all are the same. They're very, very different. So if you're, you know, the Maple Woods are all different from the Atrias, from the Sunrises, they're all very different. And it gets very confusing what should be the right place. You've got the social model, which is like the cruise ship that doesn't leave the dock. I kind of refer to Atrias tend to be that way. They do a certain amount of care, and then if you get too frail or you need higher care, you have to leave and go somewhere else, or you have to bring in that 24/7 home care on top of it. And then you have the other extreme, which are medical models, which will which will deliver very, very high care, 2-person assist, mechanical lifts. They can do pureed diets. They'll feed you. I mean, almost up to skilled nursing level. They won't do IVs because that's skilled nursing, but they can do really, really high care. So depending on what, you know, the senior needs, there's different places that you can go. Now, memory care is specialized assisted living. When people have dementia, or, you know, that's a progressive disease, and it doesn't get better. It really just gets worse. And so a lot of assisted livings have a secured memory care unit. There's also standalone places. I don't know if you know Bridges by Epic in Norwalk. That's a standalone. Artist Senior Living, they're going to be opening one up in, I think it's in White Plains. And what they are memory care only. It's a secured place. So you talk about, is it a lockdown? Well, yeah, because people with dementia, a lot of the times, they're wanderers, they're elopement risks, they'll leave. So you want to make sure that they're safe. So they'll be in a secured environment. Since they need higher care, they're staffed high at a better ratio. So you'll have more caregivers there because they don't know to press a pendant. They don't know. So you need more people around and more activities geared for them so that if they need care, it's there for them. All right. And typically smaller, as I said, smaller neighborhoods. So a lot of the memory care neighborhoods, maybe you'll have 20 to 40 people, depending, on that floor, whereas maybe the building has 100 people in it. Okay, so it's a smaller environment. So a skilled nursing facility, what are they? Well, they're also known as nursing homes. We call them SNFs, but a skilled nursing facility. Around here, you're gonna think of Nathaniel Witherall in Greenwich Woods, what else? Casena Care, the Villa, HAYVN, the care center. You know, there's a lot of skilled nursing facilities. And what are they? What are skilled nursing facilities? They're staffed by nurses. and also AIDS. And really, that is for people who need short-term rehab. So if someone's gone to the hospital and are going to be discharged to a rehab, they'll go to a SNF, and that's going to be paid by Medicare on your Medicare Part A, right? And but it's for a short period of time. So they'll get their PT, their physical therapy, their occupational therapy, their speech. The nurses are there. If they need IVs, right? It's real skilled nursing, trachs, vents, things like that. As I said, but that's for a short period of time. Why are people there for the long term? Well, either their medical needs have increased and they have to be there because they need, maybe they're on a ventilator, maybe, you know, they have chronic conditions, they're not stable, or they're on Medicaid. In the state of Connecticut, Medicaid, which is a federal program administered by the states, only pays for skilled nursing facilities. Doesn't really make sense. That's the most expensive way to pay for someone. So when people run out of money, where do they get placed? Into a nursing home. Assisted livings do not accept Medicaid. They are private pay only in the state of Connecticut. Other states are different. New Jersey, you can do a spend down into assisted living. A spend down means you spend down all your assets and then you can convert to Medicaid and Medicaid pays for it. We don't have that in Connecticut. New York, very few options. So what do you do? What's the right option, right? Well, it's really dependent, as I said, on your care needs, your financial situation, where you want to be. So what do? You call me. So this is what we do. You know, it's one call, many solutions. You don't have to do it alone. We have so many, most of the people that we help, it's really about, they give us a call and they don't know what to do. I was on the phone just before. Someone was just really, they needed an elder attorney. So I give them referrals to an elder attorney because they need to talk about Medicaid spend down and things like that. So we're committed to helping families find the right place and that right solution, where they should be. Where are the kids? Well, you might be here. Maybe you've got a sibling in New Jersey or Arizona or Florida. Maybe mom and dad should move. What makes most sense? So we talk through all of that. We do a quick financial analysis as to how much money they have, what are their assets, and how long is it going to last, you know, knowing what their care needs are. We've been in every single assisted living in both counties, actually most of them in this state. It's just, so we really know which to suggest to you, right? And then we can set up tours. We'll suggest a few places, we'll go on tours, and then we'll help you make that decision. But understanding now with COVID, a lot of things are virtual, you know, and a lot of things that, one of the things that people are really concerned about is if I move my mom or dad, will I be able to visit them? What do? We don't have a crystal ball, but we talk about that. They're really very safe places. And so we're free. We are no cost to you, kind of like a real estate broker, if you think of it that way. We work with all the different buildings and they pay us if someone moves in. And that's as simple as that. So I've worked with families that mom was being discharged in 2 days, and we were able to move them into an assisted living. I also have worked with people for 2 years and they still haven't moved in, but that's fine. It really doesn't matter. Our average client, maybe 3-4 months, but as I said, we work with plenty of people. So our typical, no one's typical. Everybody's situation is completely different. So it's someone who just needs their questions answered. I'm sorry. Someone who is at home and needs more care and you don't know what to do. That's the big one. We get a lot of calls like that. Or as I said, if someone's discharging for the hospital and can't go home, one of the things you want to keep in mind, if that happens, assisted livings have what's called respite stays. They're short-term stays. So if you can't go home, go there for a couple of months. It's almost like a step-down unit, and then they go back home. It's fine. This happens all the time. So we're here if you have any questions. I mean, I threw a lot at you, but it is complicated. I mean, we have to deal with a lot.
Thanks. So Susan, I think if we stop sharing screens, and then there's a bunch of questions in the chat.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, no, it's good. I said everybody should wait till the end to put the questions in. So,
okay. So home aids through Medicare. Okay, so what about home aids through Medicare or Medicaid? Medicare is only, so if someone's discharging, you might get an aid that's covered by Medicare once a week to help with showering. Medicaid, you'd have to go contact Southwest Connecticut Area on Aging, and which is referred to as SWACA. And there is a wait list for that. And you're never going to get a 24/7 live-in. You just won't. It's all, you know, there's just not the money for it. But you might be able to get someone a few hours a day, a few days a week. It really depends on the needs. But I would contact SWACA, and I have a contact there if you want that information. I have a service suggestion for someone to come in an hour or two a day. Father needs a chair that can help him stand up. Does Medicare cover this? No, but you could, I mean, you could buy one or you can rent one. There are DME places, durable medical equipment, where you can rent these types of devices. There is, I can get you the names of places if you want, and we could do that offline. Does Medicare cover this? Generally not, unless it's a prescription. You'd really have to go to your physician and ask does he really need this or does he want this? Right, that's a medical question.
So if they might say yes, right?
They might say yes, then you're going to have to go to a supplier that will be able to provide that. And to be honest, I think there's one guy who's cornered the market in it. So a lot of times people will just go and rent them themselves. It is the way it is. So.
Yeah, so I actually, back to I had the question, do you have a service suggestion for someone to come in?
Oh, I'm sorry, one or 2 hours a day. That's tough. But you could probably, yeah. So there's a couple of places, because once again, you're not going to get a consistent person. It's going to be someone who can kind of squeeze it in. If it's from an agency, do you want an agency or a registry?
Well, I was just thinking it's the same as having a kid, right? Like there's those nanny services that people, maybe they do it too, but.
So a lot of agencies, as I said, a lot of them will do minimums, like 4 to 6 hour minimums. There are some that will do 1 or 2. Like I know Connecticut in-home assistance doesn't have minimums. Also, what's it called?
Is there any national ones or like?
I have a list from my job. I work at Silver Source, and I actually,
yeah. You have some. It's and also like the Jewish Family Services one. She's got, she'll do that too. Medicare did not cover the cost of the chair for father. Bob's Furniture offered to just, oh, good. Okay. Yeah, a lot of people go to Bob's. Mom is going to need in-home aid soon, but it doesn't want to even discuss it. She wants her privacy and independence. Oh, yes. This is very, very common. So this is part of the conversation. This is another presentation that we do. And so you really need to start having these conversations earlier and not wait until there is a crisis. Because when there's a crisis, let's say mom falls and breaks her hip, then all bets are off, right? Then she has to get help. She'll go to the hospital, possibly rehab, unless you're like my parents who say, I'm not going to rehab, I'm going home, and you guys are taking care of us. Sorry, I can't pick you up. So you really want to have this conversation about when you bring care in and who's going to do it. My father just got out of the hospital and he was dead set. There was no way in hell anyone was coming in. But guess what? Someone's there 7 days a week, 9 to 6. And it's really about, you need to keep having that conversation about why would you bring someone in? Let's go back. Do they have a long-term care policy? Does someone have that's something that'll pay for home care after the elimination period. My parents have one. I'm like, would you activate it? I mean, you bought this for a rainy day. It's pouring outside. Let's not wait until there's a crisis, because when there's a crisis, then you don't have that choice. They want to be independent. They want to make their decisions. This gives them the ability, having this conversation gives them the ability to make choices. If you don't allow someone to come in, then who's going to take care of them? Are you waiting for an event? And that's the thing. And that's where you need to talk about, by allowing someone to come in and help, gives them the say and the control that they want to have. If they don't allow someone and something happens, and it will, it's just a matter of time. And I'm not trying to be Mary Blackcloud. Then you lose that control. So start having someone come in. You don't need to have someone to come in, 9 to 6, 7 days a week. Have them come in a couple of days a week, help with, basic, let them do the laundry and meal prep, drive them to the doctor, things like that, small little things, so they get used to it. And it relieves you as the adult child from doing it all, because you have a family, you have a house to run, you have work. So that's what we always say, is they are more independent when they allow help in. Believe me, I can say it. It's easy for me to say, but when you're in this situation, it's very, very difficult. As I said, what just happened with my family, there was no way in hell anyone was coming in, because my sister's a nurse. Well, my sister works, and we're all, we all have jobs. So, so now dad has someone in. She's very nice, and we'll see. It's just one step at a time. Does that help? It really, you have to keep talking about it. And not be like, well, we have to have someone come in. And no, let's talk about this. What if, I have a friend. It's always, I have a friend and this happened and I don't want this to happen to you. So let's talk about the situations that would have to happen for you to have someone come in. Or, I've got to go back to work. I can't be here. I can't visit you. Are they taking their meds? That's the other big thing. All right. So if they have medication issues, if they've got to take, and everybody takes med, I mean, the one that don't, God bless them. But my parents have pill boxes. And my father, believe it or not, he stopped taking something and started, having all kinds of cardiac issues. And it's not because they forget, they just forget. So if they become non-compliant with their medication, that's a red flag as to maybe you need to have someone come in and check that periodically. Just cue him, have them come in, make sure they eat. So that's another one. Can you speak of how things have changed since COVID? Oh boy. So COVID has really, everybody's learned a lot from COVID. When it hit, all the assisted livings, nursing homes, everybody went in lockdown. There was no visitation, meals delivered in their room, really, really, really difficult for families and also for people in any kind of facility. They have learned a lot. They're very careful about letting people in. So when you ask about visiting rights, if we're talking about assisted living, they're keeping an eye on the numbers. So a lot of places we're starting to allow family visitation in their apartment. Now, if numbers go up, they might not allow that to happen. Maybe it goes back to outside visitation. It really depends. They all have protocols based on the numbers in the area, you know, the COVID numbers in the area and what's going on in the building. So in the buildings, they test all staff weekly. They all get COVID tested weekly. Residents, I'm not too sure. It's kind of unclear on when residents get tested, but the staff is tested frequently. And I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen with visitation. As I said, some places are allowing visitation in the rooms. You have to go straight into through the building into the rooms. If there's any kind of outbreak, they might stop that. You know, it depends. In nursing homes, it depends. Right now, they've been doing visitation outside. But if someone's in a nursing home or in rehab, each place is different. It really depends on the numbers. Okay. And how do you create a sense of privacy for one parent when the other one needs 24-hour care? Well, are we talking about in the home? If they need 24-hour care in their home? So if the other parent doesn't need care, does the other parent need care? It really depends. So if the one parent has high care needs, maybe they sleep in separate rooms. Maybe they stay in the same room and the caregiver knows the schedule. Let's say dad is the one that needs 24-hour care, for instance. If dad needs to, if he gets up a lot to go to the bathroom, that caregiver needs to know the schedule that he gets up. I mean, it really depends on what it is. I think that's talking with the caregiver and working that out. That is difficult because the last thing you want is for a caregiver just to be sitting on a chair watching that person. It's a matter of understanding what their schedule is. It's like, hey, you know, I mean, I have kids. I knew their schedules. I knew when they would get up in the middle of the night, when they would go to the bathroom. The same thing with the adult parent. You know,